What's up, you guys? Michael Elefante here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the 401k plan, pension plans, how 401ks really came about, and break down the pros and cons and some of the mysteria behind 401k plans, and ultimately try and help you decide, should you invest in a 401k? All right, so first, if you guys enjoy these type of videos and maybe have watched some videos in the past that I've posted, I post typically about once a week. Just hit the subscribe button below. Totally free to subscribe. There's no, crazy, hooks that come along with that. It's really just a way for you to get notified when I post new content, and shows me that you do enjoy, particular videos that I like, so I know which ones to post in the future. So back to what we're talking about today. So pension plans. Pension plans have been around for quite some time, and they are less and less common these days. A pension plan is basically a pension fund that an employer, typically both public and private employers, will set up. So participating employees, they work a certain amount of years within the company, and then they hit all of the necessary check boxes to qualify for full pension benefits upon retirement. And then a pension plan, how it really differs from a 401k, is a pension plan typically in a defined plan will pay you, I think it's age 62-ish, on until the day you die. Once you retire, you are guaranteed a sum of money, either on a monthly or annual basis, until the day that you die. So pension plans from that point of perspective are somewhat secure at that point. And Congress actually passed the Revenue Act of 1978, and this is where the 401k was actually introduced. So it was a particular section of this document of the Revenue Act of 1978, Section 401k. And that is how the name came about. I know most of us think, 401k, that's how you set up a retirement account, and that's how we're going to retire in the future. But that's not really the whole story. So Section 401k allowed employees to actually defer their income, pre-tax income, to a 401k managed account that's managed by typically one of the bigger banks, right? Charles Schwab, Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, and so forth. So a 401k was actually not designed to be the sole source of retirement income. But this day and age, it grew so fast and so popular that all these big funds just blew up into billions and trillions of dollars. And now it's kind of just the status quo. If you want to save for retirement, make sure you save some money, maybe 10 or 15% of your income toward your 401k, and you'll be set for life, right? May or may not be the case. So I want to break down some of the pros and cons of a 401k, and also just to talk about the pension again. There's my crazy dog, always interrupting my daily work and sometimes the videos. But pension plans have actually very rapidly decreased in popularity. And if you think about it as an employer, from an employer's perspective, it's not always sustainable, especially as life expectancy has increased over the past several decades. It becomes more and more expensive for employers to be able to sponsor these plans for many of their previous employees, to pay them sums of money for the rest of their lives. So that became a big portion of why the 401k became so popular, is because now employees and employers can even match some of the contributions you put into a 401k. And employees, I think a 401k is better than a pension plan per se, because you're not always locked into that particular employer for the long haul, right? That's why a lot of folks my age may bounce around jobs throughout their career instead of sticking with the one company from age 20 till 65 or however many years. Because typically, if you don't stick with the company for that many years, you're not going to reap the benefits of their pension plan. 401k, you're allowed to roll it over into new employer sponsored plans and so forth. So it allows more flexibility and fluidity for us as employees to move about and continue to save for retirement within a 401k. So pros of a 401k: you can defer your taxable income. So it doesn't mean you're not going to get taxed on it. It just means you won't get taxed today. Once you retire and start taking withdrawals from that 401k plan, you will be taxed at whatever income bracket you're in at that point in time. Whether that's more or less in taxes, it really just depends on how much money, you're bringing in today versus the time where you're actually withdrawing that money. So another big pro is it allows you to kind of systematically save for long-term savings and retirement with little to no effort. So, for most folks who don't take the time to investigate or study on where they should save and invest their own money, a 401k is kind of an easy button, like a mutual fund where you say, okay, I'm going to put my money in here and it should grow over time based on the fund's, prior performance, and it's a reputable bank such as Fidelity. And I think they're doing a good job, and I'll have plenty of money in retirement, right? Okay. So again, it's typically pre-tax dollars unless it's a Roth plan, and a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA is really just taking taxed income and then investing it. So you're just taking the tax burden out up front and paying the government their money. So you don't have to put much effort at all, and you can systematically save. So the last pro is you get a company match, and people say, oh, it's free money. Well, okay, I guess you could look at it that way, because if you don't put money in your 401k at all, you're not going to reap the benefit of that match. But the way I see it is if a company wanted to truly give you the option, they could say, would you rather have $3,000 more per annum in salary, or would you rather us match it in your 401k? Personally, I'd rather just take that $3,000 up front and invest it however I want. But it's a way for them to kind of lock you in long term. If a company has great benefits, typically they'll advertise the crap out of that and say, oh, we have a 50% match, up to a certain amount that you put in, and that's great. It'll really help you save long term. That's part and true, part a way just to kind of lock you in and market themselves to employees like you and me. So my cons list is a little bit longer. Number one, you can ask yourself these questions as we go along. Do you know what your 401k is invested in? Probably not, right? What is it invested in? I mean, it's typically a fund that is, you kind of look at it as a mutual fund, but it can be invested in all sorts of stuff. It might be invested in stuff you don't even believe in. It could be invested in tobacco stocks. You might be anti-tobacco, anti-cigarette. I mean, it could be a whole slew of things, big oil and gas companies that you may be, a big advocate for clean energy. It's like, why would you invest your money in things that you either, one, don't know that what it's invested in, or two, something that you don't believe in, either now or long term? So that's a big con, and a reason I am starting to stray away from investing in 401k or large funds, because they're very convoluted and hard to understand where your money actually sits. You are definitely paying fees to fund managers because people aren't managing this for free. They're taking their cut, right? So I don't know how they take their cut, honestly, but I'm sure each fund is different. But you are definitely paying someone else to manage your money. It's not just growing somewhere by itself for free. That's just not how it works. And typically you'll see, if you Google, funds under management or assets under management, is what you'll see all these big banks advertise. That's not actually how much money they have, but they're marketing how big their fund is, how much money other people are giving them to invest. And they invest on your behalf, and they get a nice cut of that. So that's how these big banks have so much money and grow so much. So you're contributing to their wealth. So again, this is interesting, which you probably don't think about, right? So if an IRA, an individual retirement account, there is a limit. I think 2019 and 2020, it'll be $6,000 a year. And for a 401k, it was around $19,000 or $19,500 a year that you're limited. So, okay, great. I maxed out my 401k. I feel really good about that. Have you ever thought about why there's a limit? I don't know. Why is there a limit? Why should you as an individual be limited to how much money you can save per year per retirement? It makes no sense to me. Well, the big reason is the IRS and the government has a stronghold on that. So they don't want someone who is maybe making more money, or in particular saving as much money as possible, to be able to defer, more taxes than a certain limit. So because the government still needs to collect their money today and in the future in order to pay for all their big initiatives, right? So that's, reason one why there's a limit. And maybe I'm more of a, conspiracy theorist. and thinking that government wants you to work some monotonous job that you may or may not like until age 60, 65 years old. So as long as there's a limit on it, you're probably going to have to contribute, a portion of your annual earnings toward a 401k for a very, very long time in order to reap real true benefits and have an actual amount of money that would provide a safe, secure retirement, or maybe live, the means that you actually want to live. Because we don't want to live below our means our whole lives, right? I totally understand living below your means today so you can save up to maybe live how you want to live your life down the road. Another con or downfall of 401k is you cannot touch your money until you're 59 and a half years old. And I get it, because they want to have folks really think long term about their investments. So in order for you, but they actually will not let you touch your money until you're 59 and a half. If it's sitting in an employer's plan, typically in the fine print, you cannot withdraw your money unless it's for maybe a medical expense or student loans or something else, that maybe a first home purchase, but you typically have to pay that back to your 401k, over the next several years. So again, you can't touch your money until you're 59 and a half years old. Now, if you do leave your employer, or it's not an employer sponsored plan, you can actually withdraw your money from your 401k. But there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. Not only do you have to pay, which is expected, your whatever income taxes, your ordinary income taxes based on your tax bracket, where you fit in the tax bracket, on that sum of money, you have to pay an additional 10% to who? The IRS and the government. Why is that? Why is that a thing? Why should you have to pay an additional 10% to the government for taking your money and maybe saying, you know what? Maybe I don't want to invest in the 401k anymore, and I found a better place to invest my money that better suits what I want to do. Why should they get an extra 10% cut? I find that ridiculous. Have you ever thought about that? Again, a 401k does not pay you monthly dividends or cash flow. So if your goal is to retire in 10 years, I want to retire at age 35 or 45 or maybe 50, whatever. Do you know anybody who solely invests in a 401k for retirement that is in a place where you want to be in the next 10 years? I'm not saying investing in a 401k is bad, but do you know a single person who maybe is in a place where you want to be at age 30, 40, or 50 years old, to where they are maybe traveling the world, or they picked up a new hobby and that's what they focus on a day-to-day, and they are set. They have cash flow coming in for other investments, but they probably are not investing solely in a 401k. It does not pay you monthly cash flow or dividends. You can obviously lose significant wealth through market downturns. And again, you're going to weather the storm in any type of investment, whether it be real estate or the stock market, over the long term. I get that. But what happens when you retire and you have a big chunk of money in a 401k and the market tanks, and you have to basically weather that storm at age 65 years old, where you lose 50% of your wealth? If you have $3 million in your 401k and the market tanks 50% during, whatever year it is, you're down to $1.5 million, and you have to basically hope that it goes back up and your money's where it needs to be. And there's ways to obviously diversify and try to avoid that as best you can as you're nearing retirement, but that's also something to take into consideration. Again, you will be taxed at some point, right? If you're deferring your money today, it doesn't mean that, I'm going to grow tax-free to wealth. No, once you start withdrawing money, you're going to be taxed. So again, if you make X amount of money today and you're paying, maybe the bottom tier of taxes, but you really systematically save up a lot for retirement and you're taking larger withdrawals during retirement, you may be taxed more at retirement than you are today. So that's another thing to take into consideration. So after talking about these points, should you invest in a 401k or not? I'll ask you guys a couple questions to think about. Do you want to work, whatever job you're currently working or a similar job until you're 59 and a half to 65 years old? If the answer is yes, and you love that work and they do provide you good benefits, then I say go for it. It doesn't hurt. Does your company provide a really hefty 401k match? that would be worth it, at least for the time being, until you figure out how you actually want to, additionally save or pad your, investment accounts long term, maybe you should take advantage of it. Are you investing enough to achieve that particular retirement goal? Again, it all comes down to what are your goals in life and what's important to you. If your goal is to, live beneath your means and save up and then be able to have some sort of passive income through investments, again, whether it be through rental properties, stocks, whatever, or through a business that you start, freelancing. If your goal is to retire by age 35 and travel the world, you got to think a 401k is not going to get you there. So you really have to think what's important to you and what are your life's goals, and does that align to the investments I'm making today? Again, who are you taking advice from? Does the person telling you to invest in a 401k because that's how you're going to build wealth and retire, paint a super pretty picture of retirement? Are they in a place where you want to be? It's kind of like taking tax advice from someone who's not a CPA, right? And again, it's really all about financial freedom and what that means to you. Again, we covered that in a previous video. And if you want to achieve financial freedom and be financially free at retirement at age 65, and as long as you have a plan to systematically save today and build that nest egg over time, and that's primarily through a 401k, that's great. Go for it. I just really encourage you guys to know what your 401k is invested in, learn about the fees of the 401k, and also look at other avenues to save and invest that'll pay you near term, midterm, and long term. Again, in the last video, we talked about investing in rental properties. And over the course of, again, I think we did around 10 years, we invested a total of, it was over $200,000 over those 10 years out of pocket. And we slowly built up a rental property portfolio that's paying us monthly cash flow and building up long-term wealth in real estate, which appreciates over time. And you get equity pay down in the houses from your renters each month. And you get cash flow each month. And in that scenario, you have a nice nest egg with equity you have in the houses and the properties, and you're getting a monthly cash flow from, again, your monthly bookings or revenue each month. So we'll talk in further videos about investing in real estate and why I think that is a good option, whether it's to supplement your retirement in your 401k, or if you want to solely focus on real estate and stocks and other areas to invest that will actually pay you monthly cash flow and help you build a nest egg for retirement, something to pass on, generational wealth down the road, then go for it. So again, thank you guys for watching. I typically cover videos around personal finance and break down the mysteria of things such as 401k or investing in real estate and whatnot, a whole bunch of topics. But if you like these type of videos, please do subscribe below, throw me a like, and it'll help me just know what future topics you want covered. And I look forward to chatting with you guys next week. Thanks for watching. See ya.